us. She is a literacy consultant who is working with Pioneer Valley Books. She works with teachers, pre-K through 8th grade, administrators, parents, all helping them work with intentional literacy practices and using the balanced literacy continuum that we all try to work with so much. She has been a K-3 classroom teacher, a reading teacher for grades 4 through 8, a reading recovery teacher since 1989, and is a reading recovery teacher leader currently for a district where, Michael?
Michigan, South Line.
Michigan. And she is working with Pioneer Valley, modeling and coaching for the transfer of best literacy practices into the classroom for all learners. She is here today to work with just us, helping us learn to navigate the digital reader and to begin to learn to think about how to teach guided reading remotely. So Michael, take it away for us, please.
So this is a tremendous challenge for all of us. I don't think that anyone thought, this time last year, that we would be working out how we're going to reach and teach all of our children. We worry about it when it's in the classroom, let alone when they're actually not in the classroom, they're at home. And you're going to be on remote for the first 9 weeks, I think, or the first 6 weeks, whatever the semester is. And you are fortunate in your county that you are familiar with literacy footprints in the classroom, so that the transfer online, you at least know the lessons and you know the shape of the lessons and you know the components. I have schools that have never used it and are going straight on to the digital reader, and it's like overwhelming. It's overwhelming enough, and Ashley was with me this morning with the K1, that probably you know that even all the bits and pieces and how things work together is, we just walked through it today. That's why I've got you. I wanted you to have your digital reader subscription. There were some this morning who either hadn't received it or whose emails had been entered incorrectly. I know that Kim had sent an email back to Ashley saying that she had been in contact with Pioneer Valley and that that they had resent, or that people should be able to get in. Some of you are working together, so at least you'll be able to see your friend's one and learn to navigate and what each of the things mean. So I'm going to walk you through steps. I am going to put you in some breakout rooms. Now, when we go to discuss certain pieces, I know that some of you have learnt the kinks, that the Chromebook, many of the Chromebooks won't, when I put the PowerPoint up, still show it as a spread of slides, and it's very small. So it's been suggested that you sign into your desktop as well, so that you'll be able to see the PowerPoint. You can hear me, and I think can you see me when Kim, when it's like that? But yes. I can't see you. Yes. So I've got a whole lot of blank screens here, which Kim and Ashley already know I don't like when I'm trying to present. I've been a teacher for 48 years, and I've been doing this sort of work since 1991 as a reading recovery teacher leader and as a classroom consultant, because I've been in the classroom for a long, long time. And I really feel at the heart of all of our work is building relationships. And with your little ones online, it's the same thing. With the K people this morning, that's really tricky because most of them don't know their K children. At least with grade 1, they might have seen you in the corridor. So I think this is very challenging, and you will see in some of the videos we look at, one of the things I said, I have done a lot of the videos of lessons for literacy footprints, both with their read at home that they had up over the summer free, and then I'm doing them now for the grade level kids. And you have to kind of put some energy into it. You can't just sit there and talk like that. You've got to kind of sell it, because kids will zone out really, really quickly on the end of a camera. So it's very challenging. People say, I'm exhausted at the end of a day, and it's like, what do you mean? You've just been sitting there on the computer? And it's like, you are giving so much energy and trying to monitor things, etc. So as Kim said, she's worked with me and she remembers that I have a slight accent still, even though I have lived here for 25 years. I came as a reading recovery teacher leader in 1994 for 1 year, in case I didn't like you and you didn't like me, and the rest is history. I'm still here. I am a reading recovery teacher leader for, I say, a third to a half of my day, depending on the day. And the other half, I have my own consulting business, mostly in Michigan. And then I do some work for Literacy Footprints in Michigan, but also out of state. So I get to do the work I love every single day. I normally go to work and I'm with children and I'm with teachers. And when I finished my doctorate, one of my professors said, "So you're going to come and join us?" And I said, "You know what? That's not my strength. I love being with the teachers and I love being with the children." So, you know, as we walk through today, please don't hesitate to ask questions. We can save the chat. And so it's as a file, and I didn't get all of it for the first lot actually, but I did do it halfway through when we talked about the little doc. And so you can then keep it as a file and you can pull it up and see what the questions were. And I suspect that if people save it, they can have the chat as well. So they would have the link to my website and things like that. So with no further ado, if you're sharing, that's fine. Hi, Anne. I'm going to, if you like to mute your computer, Anne, then if there's any background noise, and the other thing, we get feedback from bottom left-hand corner usually, depending, it might be different in the project. There you go, thank you. If your cell phone is too close to your computer, sometimes you get feedback as well. So if we just move it away a little bit, it doesn't do that. So we are going to go, I'm going to start you on this PowerPoint and then we're going to move you in. I am going to put you in breakout rooms just from the start, because that'll give me an opportunity to zip around them and say hi to some of you in smaller groups and be able to see your faces. So I'm going to share this. Okay, is everyone able to see that? On your Chromebook, it may well still be in the array and it's too small to see. So look over your friend's shoulder, sign into your desktop, find a way to look at it. So what we're going to focus on, as Kim said today, is being able to take your knowledge of teaching the guided reading and literacy footprints in person in your classroom face to face, and how we're going to do that online, remotely. Some of you may have taught over the summer. I know that some of the K1 said that they'd had some experience perhaps with the old digital reader, or some of them had A to C where they had digital lessons. So some of you may have had a little practice, but for many of us, we haven't. We'll talk about this as we go through, like the size of the group. And if your children are in grade 2 and they've had literacy footprints in grade 1 and possibly in kindergarten as well, you are better positioned for them to cope well with this because they know the format of the lessons. They know how things go, okay? So we're going to talk about this. So when you sign in, and I hope that everyone has already logged in, made sure that they can get into their digital reader. If you can't, look over your friend's shoulder or quickly see if you can log in. You have to have the invite from Literacy Footprints. It's a subscription. So you can't just log into Literacy Footprints and think you can get into the digital reader. There is a specific sign up that then will give you the page where you've got login, you log in, and then you'll get this page here. So what we're going to do first, we're going to, in a second, I'll put you in a breakout room. Everybody log in. Even if you've logged in before, log in again. If you've got a friend who can't get in, help them get in. And the first thing I want you to do is to look through the books. On the left-hand side, when you have read books like this, it will have probably from grade 2, I think it starts at FG, it'll have the range of books that you can access in grade 2. So if you click on that, if it's a level F or a level H, it will just bring up those. Otherwise, you will just see all of the books in the kit in alphabetical order. They're not in the order that they're in your physical kit with lesson numbers. And we'll talk about how how you will know what number they are in a second. You can do that, but they're not on the screen. So I'm going to give you about 8 minutes. I'm going to put you in, and I can't, you will be in a mixture of grade 2, 3, because I can't sort you by grade level because everyone's in the same room. But I'm going to put you into a breakout room. How many people have we got, Kim? 34. So let's do 10 rooms, and that will give like not too many in each room. Okay,
Yeah, some of us are logged in twice, don't forget.
Oh, okay, so perhaps I'll do 8 and we'll see what happens. I can move people if they need to be moved. And you will zip away in a minute, like through time and space, and you'll end up with your friends. And I'm like the magic fairy. I can arrive in your room unannounced and say, hi. So be waiting, and I'll come around just so I can meet you in smaller rooms. At the end, I click on leave the room, and it will give you 30 seconds, and it will bring you automatically back into the main room. Okay. So this should take you off. So some people I've still got, are you going? Is it taking you somewhere? I'm seeing you still there. I've got Banks, Kate, William, Anne, Donna. Are you all in the main room or are you on a different computer? Are you the lonely last one there? Oops, no, you've gone. Excellent. So I've got Carly.
Hi.
So if you can open your video while you're in here, if you on the screen, on the sharing screen, it'll just mean I can see your face. Is that going to work, or do you not have a camera on your computer? You don't, do you? Okay, I just have to put up with not being able to see your gorgeous faces. So, Carly, what grade are you?
I'm 3rd grade.
Okay.
I was looking at the books. I was for 3rd grade. What happens when a student is already coming into 3rd grade at a queue, and that's
okay.
the highest?
Can you ask that question when we go back into the main group? Put it on the chat. Put it on the chat. Because
Okay.
there is provision for that, but rather than tell you and then tell everyone.
Okay.
Come back and, yes.
So will there be a invite to go back to the original chat or something?
No, you can actually, somewhere there you can click on chat, and that says there's a link to chat. Otherwise,
Okay.
just wait till you get back to the main room and put it on.
Okay, that's fine.
It's just that, yes, they realise, just as you have very quickly, there's going to be children always, and we all know what happens, who are either lower than the kit or higher than the kit.
Right.
So there's a couple of things that we can do, so it's a great question.
Okay, thanks.
Drew, can you hear? I know it's not really Drew probably, but Drew, it's not letting me, or what video? Oh, you mean the
Maybe they can't get their video to turn on, but
you do have to enable your video as you come in. It will should give you, so you may have to go into your settings and enable your Zoom to access your video for some reason. So I don't know whether it lets you do anything here. If you click on the video at the bottom and it's got video settings, it may let you do it there. So go and see if it's actually, has it got a red line through it, Drew? Where did it go?
I had to go to the bottom left-hand corner.
Yep.
To unmute myself and to start the video.
Yeah, under the video icon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Drew, you may have to go down and turn it on. Where it's got the video at the bottom, there's a little arrow, and you might have to click on that and enable it. Okay. Otherwise, if you can hear, but you can't, can you see? No, you can't see. Anyway, go in and read the books. So they will be the similar books they should be the same books that you have normally had in your 3rd grade or your 2nd grade. Amy, what grade level are you? Can you hear me? Great, Amy's got it, she's muted. Oh, well, do you know what Amy is? Carly, do you know what?
Oh, no, I don't, we're not at the same school.
Okay, okay. I just like to, oh, Drew and Catherine are 2nd grade. Drew, thank you. And Kelly. Drew's using an iPhone, hoping it would work. Kelly, can you hear me? Can you just type or tell me what Kelly is 2nd grade as well, just so I know when I'm talking about it what people need. Okay, so get in, look through all the different, if you don't click on a level at the side, you'll get everything mixed up alphabetically.
Okay.
So click on it and that will sort it by text level.
Invited, so hang in there.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So who is that needs help? Judy.
Judy needs help.
What's that?
I've sent Judy to a room. She should be okay. She should end up in a room. Okay.
Thank you.
I've got a Markham and a Hodge is not joined, but I'm assuming that they're probably in 2 different places. Okay.
Hey, Christy, I'm in 2 different places too, I think.
Well, just choose one. It's because you're on your Chromebook and you're on your desktop.
How do I get out of one of them?
It doesn't matter which one you go in. You can go in either one.
I mean, do I just leave room? Okay, so are people staying in this one?
At the moment, wherever you
Okay.
are, you should have people. Okay.
Earlier today. Hi, Michael. I heard some people got kicked out and are waiting to get back in.
Well, I've looked and there's no one. Hang on, let me have a look. They can just choose one. So they're worried because they're in 2 places. Just choose one. It doesn't matter as long as you can get into your thing. Oh, okay. I've got William Kidd not joined, Mary Ann Doyle. So I'll just put them in a room if they're.
Okay, Judy is here. She is activating her literacy footprints account.
Okay. Yep, and that can take, I won't necessarily wait, but I want everyone to at least try and do it so that they can, be able to know how to get in and know how to do it. Did you 2 just end up in a room together? That's funny, isn't it?
We did. Isn't that funny with
Yeah,
Tess? And Tess is a reading recovery teacher as well.
How funny. Isn't that funny how that works? They must have known you were kindred spirits. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll just,
Oh, geez.
I've been in this one, haven't I? Hang on, let me see. Someone else said they got kicked out. There we go. Okay, so let's go down here further.
And log in that way.
I'm back into your one, sorry. No. Okay, have you managed to get in?
I've been able to get into mine forever.
Good for you.
I love it.
Good, just keep looking, use it.
That's so much easier. But I like this. I like the breakout in being able to talk with them.
All right, I'll have to look into it. Thank you, because I did not know about that. Sometimes I think I go a little more K1 when in my thinking.
Right.
How are you doing?
Saying you can use breakout rooms.
Yes.
Yes, I like them. I mean, it's kind of not as useful here today because I can't put you into into 2 and 3. I can't, there's more people. But I do like the fact you can talk to each other and you can actually zone. And have you 2 managed to get into your digital readers? You're okay?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Okay, as long as people can get in, because we're going to, I've still got people who are signing in. So we've got people that, differentiate. So make sure that you take this opportunity to look around. Just familiars, there might be something that you haven't looked at. We're probably going to walk through everything while you're there, but because we've got people at different places. So I'm going to bring everyone back now, okay? And we'll move on to the next part.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Together, because hey, Michael.
Yes.
I'm not sure some people were able to actually get into a small group, so we might be better off.
Everybody did.
Okay.
I can see the list of people, and I just, if they popped back, I just kept reassigning them.
Okay.
But some of them,
Christy Hodges was texting me that she was having an issue, so if you
and
know
they
it, that's
can't
fine.
activate their video, so they can't see. They can hear, but they can't see. So some of them have been trying to go down into the video, and then you enable. If you've got to make sure that your computer, even if you know, so you can see. Okay, this happens. We just got to keep moving forward. Yeah, and that's why it's a good thing that we're videoing it. Then they can go back and they can have a look.
Yes, thank you. Judy, are you in?
Hey, Christy, this is Daffy Scott.
Hi, Daffy.
Hey, Laura, Andre, and Amy and I are in here, but we're kind of lost.
I am too.
Okay. All righty.
Oh, but I see Dr. Taylor.
I've been here too, Christy. Donna McLeod.
Hi, Donna.
So when you go into the breakout rooms, then you have to bring up your own digital reader so that you can sign in to your own digital reader.
So, Dr. Taylor, I think part of it is we've not experienced breakout rooms before.
I know. But actually, some of your teachers have been using them with their groups.
We can't use Zoom.
Well, I don't, perhaps over the summer, I don't know how they've been doing it, but they have, so they've been able to do that. So perhaps if they're not using Zoom, and this is one of the nice things about being together like this today, for instance, when we talked about you use Google Meet, and how do you use a whiteboard, and because there's not one there, but somebody says, oh, you can use Jamboard. So, you know, being able to share the different resources that people who are more technological than some of us, like me, can help us access that sort of thing. Could you mute, Donna? Someone's test, someone's is, and I'm getting a lot of feedback. Okay, so let's go back and we'll move on to the next piece we're going to look at, and we'll try harder next time to make sure that we can do this. Okay, so we've read the books. We've had a look at the books. Some of you are very familiar with them. You have been using them all the time. Please know that these, in your kits, I said to you, they're in lesson number order. They are not in, you don't know what lesson number they are here. But when we get to where we assign it, K1 and 2, 3 may not be fully done now, although I did look and grade 4 had them, so I'm thinking they've got them up. They have created a little bit of a more simplified lesson record, lesson plan from the kit one, because there are some activities that don't work. Like you can't ask a kid to put sticky notes on a digital reader because the page moves. So where there's an adaptation you have to make, then that will be in the lesson record. So when we get to the assign and you bring it up on the screen, we'll be able to see on the side, there's a lesson plan and it has the number on it. What I suggest you do is just print out, there's only about 10 or 12 books for each level. Once you're up in grade 2, 3, you've got 3 days, so you might need a couple of pages of paper. Although you should be fine. No, it's back in front, isn't it? So print it off, and then you've got any adaptations that there are. But that will also give you the lesson number, so you know what book you're looking for next. They are designed to use roughly in sequence. And that means that, for instance, if you've had to introduce some sort of word work like breaking words or clapping, making syllables and things, that you know that they've been taught it or you are teaching it. So it does help to keep them in order, but that was one of the things we realized. These are in alphabetical order or something like that, so that they are not, I don't know how they've got them organized, I guess alphabetical order. Okay, so we're just going to look now. I know this is a lower level than you, but the pieces are the same at the side. Okay, it doesn't make any difference what book it would be. These would still be, when you've assigned the book, these would still be the things that you can see. And this would be the lesson plan. If there is a card that you need, now for instance, you might need something like the character traits for your comprehension strategy. So if you needed that, it would be posted to the side here. It would say character traits, and then it would say character feelings. So you could bring it up on your screen, on your shared screen for them. So when we get to the assigned piece, you'll have time and you can click through. We'll also talk about a favorite and marking it as read, so that's a way that we can monitor that children actually have been rereading books, and be able to make sure that we're keeping them going with revisiting those books and getting enough reading mileage of familiar text. So I want you to go back into your digital one. I won't put you in, I'll just leave you where you are, okay? I think I said when I started, I found that it was a bit tricky because you're in different grade levels, so you're looking at different things. If you are with friends in a room, if you just mute it, you'll be able to talk to each other and you'll be in the right group. I can't come and visit you, but you can come back and ask me, you can ask me questions, I'll be sitting here. So I want you to go in and find a book, open it up, click on it, and look at the lesson plan. Okay, go do that now. I'll give you about 5 minutes to do it. Okay, when you're ready, if you could start coming back. If you do have a video, show me yourself so I know that some are back. At least I can see some of you know you're back. I see Tess, I see Ashley. Yep, Dreambox. So put your thumb up if you found a lesson plan to look at and were able to look at a lesson plan. And if you couldn't find one, unmute yourself and tell me what the issue was.
I could not find a lesson plan. I looked at 5 different books and none of them have the same menu on the left side as yours does.
So where are you? You're in your digital reader and you've clicked on read books on the left-hand side?
Yes, and I saw my books. I have levels F through N and I tried various levels and I found one that had the play button, so it had
the video,
but not the lesson plan option.
Okay, so I don't know why that happened. You're grade 2 or 3?
2.
So I think that they should be up there, but if they're not, you can at level F, I think they should be there like at that earliest level, but if they're not, then if it doesn't work next time you go into it when you're on your own computer, not being on Zoom, etc., then talk with Ashley or Kim. You can always email customer support at Literacy Footprints. The digital reader have a very good customer support and they will help you if they can't. Because I went in to look for videos at a higher level to show you just in between the 2 workshops. And there were videos that had the video icon above them, but when I clicked on the menu, there was no video. So it may be that there are some teething issues, okay? Did you manage that? Well, I'm going to show you a lesson, what it looks like. So if you couldn't find one, so that is why, but thank you for sharing that. Did anyone else have any questions particularly?
Michael, it's Ashley, I couldn't find it either. And I was also looking in 2nd grade. So I'm curious, was anybody able to see a lesson plan?
They might not be up then. They might not be up yet. Did you down here at the bottom? Say?
I'm also in 2nd grade and I couldn't see one.
Okay, well they may not
see one either.
Okay, because there seem to be some in different places. It's like, says there's a video that says there's a lesson plan, there's an icon, but there's nothing there. Okay, they may not be up. They were hoping to have everything up by September 1st. I would have thought that the grade 2 ones were up by now because the K1 have been up. But the proofreaders are very, very picky to proofread every single one before it goes up so that it looks good, so that it's not going to confuse teachers and there's not errors. But I'm going to show you one now. That's what it looks like. Okay, can you all see that? This is for just a random book, a wooden apple, which is much higher than you, but this is what they will look like. So it's exactly the same format that would be on your hard copies. There's the level and the lesson, okay? And then the guided reading. And then on day 2, let me just move your pictures over here. It will have word study, guided writing, etc. Now, one of the reasons it doesn't necessarily have day 1 and day 2, and this is true all the way through, it's highly likely, especially for a start, that you are not doing a whole lesson every time you meet with them. If you used the summer digital reader or you did it over summer school with this reader, often to do the whole 20-minute lesson is too much initially. You've got to teach the children the different components, the different resources. So you will find that the videos are divided into reading books, word study, and then writing, okay? And it may be that it takes you 3 days to do the lesson, you do each one. So these ones here really are not written in days because you will decide how far you can get on each day with your children. It's going to be a little bit different than it is when you have them in front of you. So you can find ultimately every single book up in the digital reader at every grade level will have a digital lesson plan. Okay, so that you can look at that and see if there's any adaptations and things. So the 3 parts of the lesson are still there. So this is at a much higher level. So I know, because I know I've got 2nd and 3rd grade here. Oh, question, I can't remember who asked it, but a very good question. Carly, was it you? Did you ask me about the...
Yes, I asked that question.
Okay, see, I can remember faces. Even though you've gone through space and time, I remember you asked it. This is a very good question. What happens if you have a 2nd grader reading at O and your kit only goes to N, or your kit only goes to whatever M, whatever it is? They have realized there's 2 ways you can handle that. They've realized that this happens all the time. So they're putting together, Literacy Footprints is putting together what's going to be called a digital book room. And if you have children who lie outside of the parameters of your kit that you are subscribed to, because you can only get into your kit, then you can go into the digital book room and you can use books out of there. They don't want everyone going there if you've got books in your kit, but if you have children either below or above, and they told me that they're going to be titles that they won't find in your kit, so you won't be doubling up with anything, okay? The other way you can do it is, Kim, this is probably, and Ashley, we talked about it earlier, each digital subscription can have 3 teachers on it. So if you've got a teaching assistant who's drawing kids from your room, things, they can be on the same digital reader as you. I would contact customer support if you need help on how to do that, because they will walk you through it. But
we're meeting with Lori on Monday, and she's going to walk us through it, and then we're going to walk everybody else through it.
That's Kim and Ashley. So let's say that Judy is in grade 1 and Tess is in grade 2, and Tess has a grade 2 kit, and Judy needs, she's in grade 2, or she's in grade 1, but she needs some higher level books. She could be in Tess's subscription as one of the 3 teachers as well. So there are ways, Kim, that you can kind of cross-fertilize if you like. So those are just, so don't panic if you have children that lie outside the parameters of your kit. We know that that happens in the best of well-regulated families. So there will be access to lower books and there will be access to higher books, okay?
Exactly. Everybody will have access to everything they need.
Yeah.
We just need a little bit of time to process all the changes.
Yeah. And work out how to make access to different things. But you can see here, this would be at a higher level, that there would be this little arrow says it's a video. So there would be the book introduction, the word study, and the guided writing. This would have a lesson plan. And because in this book you need to access the character feelings card at the fluent level and the character traits card, they're both up there digitally so that you can just open them and have them there for your children to discuss as you're discussing after the reading or preparing to read the story. I'll talk about the favourite and the mark read in a second when we get into the children's assigning a student. So that would just come up like that. Okay, now this is at a fluent level, but we have one of these at an emergent and a transitional level. I've gone off the screen, haven't I? Where did I go? So it wouldn't matter if the book you were reading was at an early level, this one would pop up. If you were at a transitional level, the transitional one would pop up. Whatever you need to match the level you're reading at. So we're going to move to word study just a little bit here. Now, because children do need some materials at home, when I talked with Kim and Ashley, we talked about when your kids pick up their Chromebooks, having a little baggie of the things that they will need. My understanding is that you're going to print off Kim and Ashley, I don't know who's going to print it off. Someone's going to organize on the Read at Home resource that's on the website from the summer. There's a page of ABC letters. Even up at 2nd and 3rd, 4th and 5th, there's a lot of word work where they need letters. Now, if they were at school, they would be using magnetic letters, okay? But you're sending home the paper letters, and either the kids will cut them out if they're bigger, or the parents or somebody's going to cut them out. There is organization. It's tricky because then when they go to get them, you're saying find the A, find the C, and they're rootling through. But we talked about, perhaps, I know Jan got her husband, Jan Richardson, got her husband, he glued a little magnetic piece on the back of the paper. And I know another one who, ingenious, you know the little Velcro dots? They put a Velcro dot so that they could do it. Now, what I did at home, only because I taught 3 kindergarteners from March, and in order to have the materials in an organized fashion, and you will see as we move through this, you're going to have to help them organize their stuff, or they're not going, when you go to do a lesson, it'll be gone, okay? So we, of course, have these wonderful little ABC boards at school, which we all adore, okay? But we're not sending those home. One of the ways that I've had children organize at home, this is just a cookie sheet, and often parents will have a cookie sheet, and I just copied off the ABC chart and I just stuck it on with tape on here so that they could put their letters on top of it, so that when they go to find them for their word work, they can find them. And this, it's at any level. You don't have to do this, but you will go a little crazy if you don't find a way to help them organize their letters. The other thing is, these are not for playing with. Once the lesson is over, mum, caretaker, put them on the high shelf so that they come down again tomorrow. Otherwise, you will come back for the next lesson and there'll be nothing. I've experienced this, believe me. I've got 3 kindergarteners, 2 of whom are twins, and one has a 3-year-old brother who is actually more diligent than the 2 5-year-olds. He sat behind and he learned everything. Absolutely gorgeous. He's so excited about coming to school. So you are going to have the things that they need in this baggie that's going to go home. We talked about printing an alphabet chart. I have to tell you that even if you're in 2nd and 3rd grade, these cards provide a common reference point when you're trying to do something. Hopefully by 2nd and 3rd grade, your kids are writing okay. They know their alphabet letters and sounds, so if they're trying to think of a rabbit or they know how to make it. But it doesn't hurt if they're not very good at letter formation, things like that, which some of them aren't. I mean, terrible writing. So having a good exemplar, having those forms in there to go home is really, really helpful. These are I think they're called Word Study at Home kits, something like that. And they're quite expensive, and your school isn't buying these. You've got your stuff at school, but when we talked about it, they are going to have the alphabet letters the kids can cut out. They will have a marker, and they'll have what the kids need so that you can do it. So make sure that, and we'll talk about this a bit further down, you help your children, you've got 2nd and 3rd graders. They may be okay to organize themselves. Yeah. K1 are terrible, like herding cats. It's gone the next day. So you will save your sanity if you help them organize their materials. So the next thing we're going to do is invite students to join the reader. Now, I just want you to make up 2 children, okay? If you're clever and advanced and you've already got some kids in, that's fine. But if you haven't, we're just going to make up 2 children. So you would click on students, and for the record, there are 2 ways that you can invite children. You can just invite them individually, which would just be add students. But when you get to put your whole classroom in, you can actually click on this import students. It brings up an Excel spreadsheet, and it gives you all of the places to add the same information. So then you upload it as one form. and it goes in all together. And we'll have a look at what it is that you're populating it with. And this is what would come up. There's going to be a student ID. This is what they end up with. These are the things you're going to have to put in there. You don't have to put an ID in. It's up to you. They just generate one if they don't have one. You do need to put your student's name. You may not know the group initially because you haven't assessed them, but what you can go back and do that later. It will ask you for a reading level, and we'll talk about that in the next screen. You put in a student username. Now keep it simple. Karen Kanjimi, she uses Michael 123, Billy 123, and their password is the same as their username so that it's easy for them. Parents will tell you, I've got a daughter with a 10 and a 12-year-old, and she said, and she's very tech savvy. It's like these kids are so confused with different passwords for different places they have to go into. So keep it simple, okay? And then there's a guided reading level, and we're going to put that in, and it may be that you have to estimate that, and I will talk about that in the next screen. So this is what it looks like. You put in the student's name, you put their grade level that they're currently in. Now, for most of you, the last time your children were assessed was January officially, correct? Okay, so if the expectation at the end of grade 1 is an I for your district, then I would put either an I would put whatever they expect. If you don't know, if you can't, even if you look in, see, if you look in January, it's not really going to be, it might be really low. But you decide whether you put H or I, you've got to put something in there to get started. You can leave the group open, put in their name. This is what I'm saying, Jack123, password 123. And if they are on, let's say they're reading level I, and this is a little bit confusing and we come to it again, you have your assigned reader. That's the reader they're going to read with you an instructional guided reading today. Then there's another place called the book bag, and that's where the books go after they've been read when they're assigned with you, and they go over automatically into the book bag. When the child has read on their own digital reader that book 3 times, and that's where that little check mark is at the end, it automatically goes into the bookshelf. And the bookshelf is where there are the easy reading, okay? So you want to start them off at the beginning of the year with some easy reading. So if this child is on, and I can't scroll down on here, but it goes right down, let's say I want to give them FGH. Then you would check FGH, and that is what will go into their easy reading bookshelf, okay? And then if you go right to the bottom, it says add books, or it says something like that. And so therefore they end up, each child ends up with this sheet, which you copy and you put in an email and send to their parents so that they have all of the information about how to get on. This is going to be quite a time-consuming process depending on who's helping them at home. Now, grade 2 and 3, many of them are really technological. They may be able to do it themselves, but there'll be some who need help. So if you send it in an email, or if you have a student, you know, you have pages that you put things on, then that they can get back and they can access it. Okay, so we're going to go back here, and what I want you to do is to go back into your digital reader, and I want you to add 2 students. And I would make them in the same group, just for argument's sake at the moment, so that when we get to the group assignment, you have some children to put in a group. Okay, can you go do that? I'll give you about 8 minutes.
I just dropped the newsletter that I referenced earlier. I sent it out in an email yesterday. I just dropped that in the chat so you could pull it up real quickly if you needed it. we've been talking with lots of different teachers this week, and they were talking about different materials that they had sent out. So Title I and I tried to come up with a list. So if you have not had a chance to go through the millions of emails that you've gotten, I dropped that in there. And I'm going to drop the attendance one more time as well. It's in a Google form.
Have you managed to get in there, Tess? Got some kids added? At least 2? Great. Thank you. Okay, come back once you've got your 2. I'm assuming that I can't see people, but I'm thinking that there's probably a lot more people here. I know that you're going between screens and things, and that's fine. Oh, there's some more faces coming. Good to see your dear old faces. It's really unnerving just sitting looking at all the thumbnails that are black. No faces. So, are we back, do you think? Can we tell if we're back? Looks like there's 33. Well, I'll just keep going. Okay, so are there any questions? Let me look at the chat and Just see if anyone had written any questions about that. Okay, so people having trouble still with access. Got the, okay. Okay. Okay, so let's keep moving on. And okay, so just as when you're working in your classrooms with with literacy footprints, we have the assess, decide, teach cycle. Now, obviously it's going to be challenging with how we are going to assess to get kids into small groups to teach guided reading digitally as early as we can. I know that you have the TRC running record that you have to have done kind of, I think Kim told me beginning of August, give or take. There are a couple of things that you can do that can help you quick and dirty get children into groups earlier than that if you're able to. And I'm just going to tell you what they are. It's not replacing your own TRC assessment, your dibbles, everything else you normally do. This is just going to help you. Now, I don't know whether you noticed, and I won't go back right through, but at the very beginning, there was an assessment link on the opening screen. Michelle created an assessment kit specifically for literacy footprints, which I think was earlier this year it went up, it came out. She's trialed it, she's been working, she's very excited, and the next webinar, which is on August the 20th, is on that assessment kit. They have, and this is how benevolent they are a wonderful company for helping. They really have teachers and children in their hearts. Anyone who has the digital reader will have the assessment kit free for this year. So you will have access. So it could be a way to quickly do some running records on children that you're not sure about and not be using your benchmark assessment that you don't want to muddy the waters. The other way, which is very quick, I've always kind of poo-pooed it, but I tell you, in these straitened times, I'll use anything that's going to help me. On their downloadables, on Literacy Footprints, which you can all access, it's not in the digital reader, it's just on their ordinary, just go to your grade level. It's called a leveled word assessment, and you can put it up digitally, and your children read down the high frequency words, and when they miss poo, you go across and it tells you what level text you should start on. Doesn't replace a running record. Then you go, you click, and it takes you to their online. There's a little running record book, and you can take a running record. And so it just gives you a place to start. There's no comprehension. Well, there are some questions. You can ask some questions, but because it's been such a long time since these kids were assessed, and you didn't have these kids, so you don't know. So you have to work out a way to start putting them in groups so you can manage your class. So there's a couple of easy ways before you, and honestly, I would go with the leveled word assessment and the little running record that goes with that initially, because I think these kids are going to be at home. You've got to have something that they can see. So here you can see assessment books. If you were using the Literacy Footprints Assessment Kit, these are the books. If you want to use the quick and dirty, you have to go out into their actual Literacy Footprints website, go to your grade level, slide down, look for leveled word assessment, and it will come up for you. So you've assessed your children, you've tentatively put them into groups. Now, this is another thing with groups, and if any of you have taught in the summer or taught digitally in the spring, perhaps at second and third, you can have about 4 children in a group, but you can't, it's hard to have too many children, and the more competent they are as readers, generally speaking, the more you can have in the group. But don't try and overload yourself. That's why we're saying you might not do the whole lesson. You might do reading the book, which is only going to take you 10 minutes. So you can get through a number of groups that way, okay? Or word study, or we're going to go on now and talk how might you give them some of the pieces of the lesson with a video and some live, so that you kind of have that hybrid. So what I want you to do now is to go back and to bring up your 2 students and type the name of your group. Click on groups, and it's going to, you can put the name of your, let's say it's pink and blue and red, make it simple for the moment. You'll be able to delete these children afterwards, but see how then it pulls them into a group, because then we're going to talk about assigning books. So put your children in a group, click on groups, and then type the name of the group. It says add new group. And they'll come up as the same group. It'll come up as a group. So take a second and put those children into a group.
Michael, I have a question.
Yep.
The assessments that you're talking about, where can we find those?
When you have to go actually into Literacy Footprints website. They're not on the digital reader. The assessment books are, but if we're talking about the quick and dirty as a way of differentiating, let me see if I have to stop sharing just a second, and let me just.
Is that the one where they do the sight words and then?
Yes, they read the list of words, and then they read the list of words, and then it tells you. I'll see if I can bring it up. Hang on.
Because we had some questions in the chat about that.
Let me have a look and see if I can find it for you. Let me just think how I.
So that's what you're referring to will be available since we have the digital reader.
No,
right?
No, 2 different things.
Okay.
The icon, let me go out of this one here. The icon on the screen here, let me go back and share. Okay. You can see.
I think that's the one that might be in question, is the icon.
Just a second, let me come up.
Okay, I think that might be coming with the update that happens on Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When we look here, and it has assessment books here, can you see that?
Yes.
That is the official Literacy Footprints full-blown assessment kit. The books that the children would read so that you can assess them, okay?
Thank you.
The quick and dirty is it's not on your digital reader. You would have to just go into ordinary Literacy Footprints, which you can all go into, and go to your grade level, go to downloadables, go to your grade level and scroll down and look for leveled word assessment. While your people are working, the next time they work together, I'll go out and see if I can bring it up and show you what it looks like. Okay, so there's 2 different ways that you can do that. So thank you for that clarification. Okay, have we all got a group made? Got our children in a group? You would love this question. This came from kindergarten. You've got to love the kindergarten teachers. They call their groups by colours, and they wanted to know if we could change the group where it says pink. Could the circle be pink, or could it be red? It's like, I don't know. You better ask customer service that question. They like everything colour coordinated because it helps kindies navigate the system. Okay, anyone have trouble? I can only see Tess. I'm not seeing anyone else. I'm seeing Ashley and Emily. So did everyone manage to make some groups? A group? Yes, put your thumb up. Thank you. Emily, did you manage to make a group? Put your thumb up if you did. Ashley did. Okay, and Kim and Ashley are going to keep helping you walk through this. This is something that the more you do it, it becomes more intuitive. Okay, so we're setting up the groups. Set up our groups. And so then once we've set up our groups, we can assign a book for children in that group to read with us. Now, when you assign a book, they can't see it until you give it to them. Okay, so you I would not be assigning these ahead of time. I think I said this morning I do them the night before, but that's because my kids are not, they haven't got the student reader. Because you don't want them to get on there and read it ahead of time. You want them to be coming to it in the guided reading lesson. So you can look and you can decide what books you're going to do, and then you just go to the assignment, you click on the assignment and choose your book assigned, and it will come up and you click on whichever book you want to read. That is why I'm suggesting to you, print off the lesson records, lesson plans, so you know what book you're looking for that comes next. It doesn't matter if they're a little bit out of sequence, particularly at 2nd and 3rd grade, but you want to make sure that whatever the comprehension strategy is, that it's not the first time that they're meeting it with you, when in actual fact, if you'd done the sequence of the lessons, they would have encountered it earlier. You've just got to keep a bit of a check on that. So let's have a look at actually some of these lessons happening. So you can get into your digital reader, you can put your children in, you can assign them to a group, and you can assign a book. Now, when you go to click on your assigned book here, just like when you put them in that had the list of the text levels at the side, you click on, if your kid's on an O, click on an O, and that will just bring up the O's for you to choose from. If you don't click a text level, you'll get all the books, and that's hopeless. It's very hard to sort them. So select on the left-hand side what guided reading level you're working at, and then you've got your books there, okay? So let's have a look at this. So what we can have is children, and your children are not coming back for at least 9 weeks or something. So your children aren't going to be at school and at home. They're going to just be at home. And we're trying to work out how we have what they call synchronous, which means doing it with them live in some way, or asynchronous when they might be using a videoed lesson. Okay, so these are things we're going to have to map out. So here, sorry, I have to keep moving myself around here. This is if you're at school. Now this is true regardless of whether you're at school or whether you're at home, and probably it's even more difficult at home. The good thing for you 2nd and 3rd graders is that your kids have experienced most of these resources or resources like them. So they know that there's cards with words on, they know that there's character traits, so they know a lot of that sort of stuff. And you know what, I love it. I go into schools and I teach a group that I've never seen before, and I can tell that the teachers really train these children on that lesson just flies through. You can see the kids almost run it by themselves. So we need to be very specific on saying, for instance, this is an analogy card, or this is how we need to get our letters off in order to we're going to break a big word. As you get up into those things, they have to listen. And you know, it's really hard. Often they're all over the place. So you've got to, so even if the card perhaps told you to do a different word study or something the next day, if you think your kids need 2 days, most of them need more than 1 day practicing it. So you're going to have to think about how you make sure that they understand what they're using. The word study, you've got many different moving parts in word study. How to use the digital reader, how that they're signed in. You've sent the information home, and I'm sure that you're going to have to walk some parents through how to enlist their child and, you know, get their child online, and just simply using the computer. One thing I know, your kid's going to have Chromebooks, and I know with tablets and Chromebooks, you have to lean them on something so that you can actually see the child, and often they're leaning too far back so you can't see what the child is doing. So you have to kind of get them to lean it on something. They are using a computer. My little nephew I work with every morning, he very often, he slouches down in the chair and I can't see him. All I can see is his curls on top. And I have to say to him, pull the computer, pull the lid down so I can see you. So you've kind of got to, you know, make sure that they're aware that you do need to see them and they need to be able to see you. So those are all things we will have to practice. Don't assume. You know what assuming does, don't you? Yeah, ass out of you and me, isn't it? Yeah. So don't assume. All of your children are going to be at home. Someone will be with them in some shape or form, because even second and third graders are too young to be there by themselves. But it won't necessarily be someone beside them during the lesson. I think K1, it's almost impossible to have a lesson unless you've got someone to help them initially manage the materials. But you do have to talk with your parents, your caregivers, however you do that. These are necessary. Okay, if we're going to make this work, then these are what we need to happen. And it's tricky because there can be 5, 6 kids, they're all in the kitchen. You have to find somewhere quiet. It may be in the bedroom. There was an article yesterday, one big kid, they worked in the closet. It was the only quiet place they could find in their house, and they shut the door and they worked in the closet. So you have to talk to caregivers about that. I don't know whether you're reading all the online stuff as well. Been a lot about expectations for children, not in their pajamas, not with a hoodie, not with dark glasses, not eating food. You know, I struck this with my 3 little kindergartners in March. They thought that when you worked on a computer, it was just fun and games. So it can be, you kind of got to set the expectations very clearly. It does need to be quiet. I mean, you can tell even on here when somebody's unmuted and just what's going on in the background, how distracting it can be. In the kitchen, often you have people coming into the fridge, making dinner, you know, at this, it's very distracting. Now, organized materials. I don't want to sound like a bossy old school teacher here, but you will go crazy if you don't help your children organize their materials. Either have a baggie, have a folder, have a tub where they put everything in, or you will go back the next day and nothing can be found. So you're going to have to kind of, I worked with 2 kindergarten twins, and their mother got them a folder, just the ordinary duotangs. She put everything inside there so that that child had her stuff and then the other child had her stuff. Otherwise, you know, it's bedlam. So just, you've got to spend some time early on, which is why even if you put kids in groups and you think it's not the right group, they can still learn all this stuff. Okay, so you can juggle kids around groups. Now, Jan has been the one who's helped us with this. When you're working with a small group, when you do the book introduction, they are reading your shared screen. But when they read it themselves, they go onto their own digital reader. So they're reading it at their own pace. So what Jan says is to have them mute their computer screen with the mute button so that they're not hearing each other and disturbing each other. And this is with bigger children, which yours are, and I've got a screenshot here where when she wants them to turn up their volume and come back, or it's their turn to read to her, then she puts up a sign that says all. So we can see that coming up here. So this is a level J, so bottom end of your grade 2 probably, or beginning what you're going to start with. Here is Michelle, she's introducing the book with her grandson and just a few pages with her grandson Jackson. So you can see how she introduces it. She does it on the shared reader, and then he goes and he reads it on his own reader.
Okay, Jackson, our new book today is called Quack and the Eggs. I wrote this book, and it's illustrated by Tracy LaRue-Han.
Is the illustrator the drawer?
Yeah, the person that made the pictures. She did all the Quack, the duck stuff. Okay, so in this story, Quack is trying to get all of his brothers and sisters to play with him, but they're all too busy. So he finds somebody else to play with. Let's see who it is, okay? I bet you can guess. So here he is, he's asking his brother.
One morning, Quack
We're not
found.
gonna read it. We're not gonna read it right now. I'm just telling you about it. His brother's busy going fishing with his friends, so he won't play with Quack. Then he asks his sister, and she's busy swimming. He tells her, you aren't nice. Can you find that word nice at the bottom of the page?
Nice.
You see it?
Uh-huh. Nice.
Can you see the part that says ice and nice?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right. Has that little ice part in it. And the eggs. Okay. Ready?
Okay. One morning, Quack found his big brother. He was hard. He was old. Oh.
You see something you know in that word?
Old.
Yeah.
Holding a fishing rod. Will you play with me? Asked Quack. I am going fishing with my friends, said his brother. Can I come with you? Asked Quack.
Okay, so a couple of nice things there that I think as I watch this. One of the things that you have to make sure as we're moving up through A, B, C, but D, E, F, G, up into the more complex text, is that our children are learning all the time. They have to learn to initiate solving. But one of the things that really hits from about F, G, H, you get much bigger words, and you have to be able to break words apart. You can't be going, oh, it's not going to get you to holding. And we have these serendipitous moments in our teaching. They happen all the time. She had him identify nice, locate nice, and they looked at the fact it had a word he knew, ice. So when he got to holding, and he said hard, and then he stopped, he monitored himself, he's pretty good at that, and he went old, and then she waited. That was beautiful wait time. And can you see a piece you know? And he said holding. Here is one of the pitfalls of working from home. If you have someone helping your child, they will come in and tell the child right at the point of error all the time. They'll just jump in. It's like, it's holding. It's like you have to train them to say, Mom, we're going to let him work it out. I know it's hard. Sit on your hands. You know, you're going to have to train them not to come in and tell the children. I have had all sorts of stories, grandparents hovering in the background, particularly K1, the kid's not doing any work because the grandparent's telling them everything. So you've got to, I say, if you've got someone who's helping the child or is there for the child, make them your best friend. Make them your co-worker. So you kind of say to them, no grandma, finger out, we're going to let him work this out, you watch. And then all of a sudden they start to see how these kids can do that. Okay, so it is a little tricky. At the beginning, you have to train whoever is there. If they're on their own and they're coping without anyone like this little one is, then you haven't got that interference. Did you notice Dad come through the back door eating his mac and cheese when he heard the child working it out? Because he does video lessons with Jackson when Michelle is down, and when in between Michelle has a winter house down in St. Augustine, so they're not in Massachusetts in the winter, and she does a lot of Skype lessons or Zoom lessons with him, but the father does a lot of lessons, so you can see him looking to see how well this child is doing with solving words. So you got to kind of be really helping the children. So that's at a J. Now, I may have said this before, so I might be repeating myself. You have to give quite a rich book introduction because you're not there. There's a fine line between telling children everything and leaving work to do, but the child knowing enough what is happening in the story that they can be reading with meaning and working things out. So this is Jan. I think these are middle schoolers. I think these are quite big kids, but she has them up in her gallery view. And I think they were doing words. Not sure if they're doing word study here. We'll see.
Luke, what do you have on your chart so far?
Oh, I got a couple things. I read up to page 10. I hope that was what I was supposed to do. And I wrote, the effects of an earthquake other than roads rumble and buildings fall there are over 160,000 deaths. It makes people homeless. They wash away communities.
Wow.
And the causes from a tsunami is this earth is not a solid shell. The tectonic plates rub, which causes a chain reaction to start a tsunami.
Wow, my goodness, Luke. Why don't you just read the...
So I'm just going to move on from that, but you get the idea that as your children get more competent and that they're able to be more autonomous, and you can have a great discussion. Now, you probably all know already that you can go into videos on the Literacy Footprints website, and there's you can go in by grade level, and you can see Jan and Michelle teaching lots and lots of videos if you need. And even though it's face-to-face, the actual running of the lesson, and you people have been using this. The other thing is that, and again, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but when I do 2 sessions in a row, that can happen. If you go into the Literacy Footprints website, to the Read at Home books that were up in the summer, even though that digital reader is no longer up, those videos are still under the Read at Home books. If you just go into Literacy Footprints and search for Read at Home, scroll down, and they're right up through Q. So you can look at some of those videos if you need help or how to manage teaching a section, whether it's reading books, word study, writing. Those 3 things are done through this. There's a lot of help, but ways to teach different comprehension strategies. Dan and Michelle feel that the reason that we haven't done a video for every lesson on the grade level digital reader is that your children really want to see you. They don't want to see us. And so you might think about making some of your own videos. And at the end, on the screen for digital reader, there's question and answer, and there are some how-to videos with tips for how to do your own videos. Okay, so now we would be moving to look at, well, how might we do some where we are on Google Meets with children with a live lesson, and when might we assign some videos? Now, just so you know, this is one of the little twins that I taught in the summer, and this is before they didn't have a digital reader. Their mother didn't want them to do that. So I was able to, because I lived down the road, I was able to give them hard copies of the book. And they hadn't been touched since before COVID, so they were fine. And they had the book, so I'm holding the book up. And there are a couple of videos Karen has done where you see her holding the book. Now you would have your digital reader, and I can show you some done with the digital reader as well. So how can we use the video recordings to help reach our children when we are trying to divide our time? Okay, let me look at the time. Okay, I'm going to give you...
Can I interrupt for 1 second? We had a question.
Here.
Amy Monroe wanted to talk to you a little bit about placing students into breakout rooms after an introduction.
You can't do breakout rooms on Google Meet, I don't think. I think breakout rooms are only on Zoom.
That is true. That is true. Amy Monroe, would you like to ask the question directly? we'll come back then.
Okay. But somebody talked about that earlier, and I mean, you and I had this conversation just a bit earlier, and you said our teachers are not using Zoom. So
that is correct.
I don't believe that Google Meets has that facility.
We have some people chiming in that says they're adding it, and it's something that they're working toward.
Okay, so once it comes, you can do that. Yeah. So what you would do when you go to a breakout room here, now today, because I don't know you and I've got 2 grades together, it would be very time consuming for me to try and break you out into just grade 2 and grade 3. This is like 30 something people. But when you have a smaller number, it tells you can manually assign them. So you can put people specifically in breakout rooms. I don't know what the Google Meets one is going to look like. Okay, but I really like breakout rooms because I think that any Zoom meeting, any Google Meet, any of these ones are really intensive, and you need some time when you can talk together. Okay.
Excuse me. Would you please repeat? I was the one that asked the question about the Google the breakout rooms, but my computer shut off. So whatever you explained, and I just got logged back on. I don't know what you said.
There is currently there is no breakout rooms on Google Meet.
Yes, there are now. There are now, and it's been added.
Okay. Well, I have not used them on Google Meet. So you would have to go in and have a look, because you can manually assign them on Zoom. So if I wanted all the pink group to be in a group together, in a breakout room together, I would simply, when I assign the breakout room, would put those children in it. So you have to physically put them in on Zoom. I don't know about Google Meet, but I really like breakout rooms, because I think it gives you an opportunity to give some downtime when they can talk to each other and they can look at things and etc.
So you are in favor of, after you do the book introduction, instead of having them go on muting themselves, you could break them into their breakout rooms and you could pop in and listening to them read, correct?
Well, the thing is that particularly at grade 2 and 3, they still would need to mute themselves because they're all reading the book individually. They're not round robin reading, they're not chorally reading.
Correct.
And so unless they were whispering, which they do at school, unless you could trust that was happening, it doesn't happen at earlier grades. So I don't know.
You would have your breakout room. You would have your breakout room. If you had a group of 4, you would have 4 breakout rooms. They would be in a room by themselves.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a good idea. You could try that. Yeah, and then you just pop in.
Keep popping into the rooms, and they don't have to reach up and mute their microphone. You don't have to hold up a sign.
And email me and let me know, because I think that as we move through, we're going to find ways to manage this so that we can hear them. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. This is the first time I've heard that Google Meets has got a breakout room, because I know that people have told me that it hasn't. So that's good. So then try that, Amy. I think that sounds like
it works fabulously. I've been doing it. I've been using it. So it works. I just didn't know if you had a negative feeling about it.
No.
Okay.
No different. It's just, how do you, when they're all on together, you need some way where they're not listening to you, they're not being, because if a voice is going, then it's in their ear. They can hear it, whether, and it's not quite like at the table where they whisper read to you, and it's not, somehow it just is, it's harder to do when I think that I'm most interested to know how that goes. Okay? Yeah, okay. So I want you to quickly have a bathroom break. So it's 1:36. Can we do perhaps 10 minutes, 1:46 or 1:45, 1:45? Give yourself a big break. I could turn on Jan with Jack Hartman and we could all be doing some dancing. Get up and move. This is one of the downsides of Zoom, is that you sit the whole time. So get up and I will be waiting here. I'm here if there's questions. If you go back in and you have any questions about getting getting onto your digital bookshelf, your digital book login, adding a student, making a group, assigning a book, come back. I'm here waiting. I can talk with you. I'll turn the chat on so I can see in case someone's put a chat thing up. Where did the chat go? Okay.
So what it sounds like, Michael, is that Google is now adding the breakout rooms, and we're trying to, they did mention that in a Google Meet session that we had earlier in the week. I have not had a chance to play around with that yet myself. They're supposed to be adding an extension to the Chrome browser to make that happen. So yes.
I can't get into, I can attend a Google Meet. I can't set up a Google Meet because I don't have a school email. And so I would have to buy it myself. I've asked Southline if they could give me a school email, but you know, they have got so much going on at the moment. It's just bedlam. I think probably my school email is the least important thing on somebody's list. And it hasn't mattered because I can use Zoom, generally speaking, for the PD piece of it. And any children I work with, it's just they're not through a school, they're through the parents, and so they're fine with me using Zoom. But I know that it has been an issue. But I think I'm very happy to hear that they've put that in there.
Me too. I do think breakout rooms are going to be a really
Helpful.
big game changer.
I think
right,
they're going
Amy?
to be very helpful. Yeah, I would agree with you, Amy. I find it really hard. And you're talking about a smallish guided reading group, but here we've got 33. I would really like to put people into their rooms, and then I can pop in and actually in a more intimate way say hi, because it's quite unnerving to have all the people and you don't have eyes to gauge if people are looking like deer in the headlights because they're overwhelmed or I'm not giving them enough time, you know, all that sort of thing. Yeah.
The group that I was working with, I just told them to keep on reading and know that I was just going to keep popping in. And when I wanted to talk with them, that I would, for them just to keep on. And they did. There'd be the learning curve of that. And then I would go into the announcement and then I would tell everyone, I want you to go back to the main room. And so then they would come back to the main room and we'd talk about the book.
Yeah. So on Zoom, I click leave the room or close the rooms, and I've put it at 30 seconds, so they've got time to finish what they're doing, and then it brings them back to the main room. And so the Google one may do it slightly differently, but I'm like you, I find that that's really useful. And they also, you know, it's like here when I come in, it's like the good fairy flying in. It's a bit of accountability in that they know that they don't know when you're coming.
The only thing about the Google Meet is you can't force them to go into the room. So you copy and paste your rooms on the right hand side, and they physically click on the room on the name room. And but then they have to, you can force them out of the room, but you can't force them to go into a room.
And I have to say, I really do like where I click it and everyone sort of fades out of the room and they're like, oh, yeah, you know.
Right.
And you have lots of different meets set up and use them as rooms?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did it.
I follow you.
Okay, yeah, I did it not through the school website. Now they finally added it, but I was doing it through my own and having the kiddos log on through my own Gmail account. You just had to have a Gmail account. And so I would open it up and then I would copy and paste what room I want them, you know, and they would know if they were group 1 or they were the Care Bears or they were the Funshine Bears or whatever they were. And so they would click on that link that would head them to the room. And then I would just pop in, and you can boot them out of the room or they can leave the room. But the main key for the Google Meet is for them to click on the link, not to sign out of the room.
Yeah.
So that was the learning curve. That was the only learning curve.
And that's where, Amy, I'm saying, you know, these are the things we will learn that we say stop. This is the one, you know, and you have to teach it several days. And so when you say leave the room, stop, make sure, you know, so, and our kids are pretty digital savvy. I mean, I think that they cotton on pretty quickly. Yeah. So I'm really happy.
Microphone, they had a microphone you could announce into the classroom, so it was like coming from above. Everybody come back to the room.
I think I can post a message that goes to everyone, but like Kim was in room 5 before, and you can click on something and say you need help, and I go back into your room and answer your question. So it does that too. But you know what? I'm really happy, and sounds like you've been playing around with it, so you're going to be a great resource. Yeah, that's great. Okay, we've got 3 minutes, and then we're going to get going again. I just feel that people often need to have a little moment to run to the bathroom and do a bit of a stretch and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing, Amy.
I was just thinking, they said something, if Jan and the group, if they thought anything negative about it, or what they thought the pitfalls to that might be.
I don't think that everybody has used breakout rooms.
Okay. Yeah.
And funnily enough, small world, my sister-in-law does PD with teachers in New Zealand, and I said to her, I've got a big group on Monday, and she said, oh, you can use breakout rooms. So I said, oh. So I spent all weekend looking, and what she had said is you can use Zoom rooms. Now, what I discovered that Zoom rooms are not the same as breakout rooms. Zoom rooms are when you have everybody in one big room and the Zoom session is on the TV. So everyone can see it from there. A breakout room is completely different, and all you have to do in Zoom is go into the settings and enable it. That's as easy as that. And it's like I'm all weekend sweating because I can't find how to do it, reading every Google video that I can find. And it's like, I'm asking the wrong question. That's what the problem is. So it worked out fine. Okay, let's hope, is everybody back? Let me see if I'm sticking to time. It's 1:45, is it? Close enough. So we're going to be looking at some of the lessons that have been recorded, and I'll show you where you find them. Now, just as you found before, for grades 2 and 3, 4, 5, the videos and the lesson plans obviously aren't up yet. We're busy making videos, they're busy proofreading, they're hoping everything's going to be up by September the 1st. But when they are up there and they have this little arrow icon, then you will find that you will be able to use them for the lessons that are there. You have decisions to make about the what pieces of the videos that you should be using. Now, it is not the intention that a child only has teaching videos. They are a supplement or alongside us live teaching online with them, that synchronous teaching, okay? And every video has a reading the book, word study, and writing. So it's done as 3 sections, and I would say to many of you, initially anyway, don't expect to get through those 3 segments in one lesson. My experience has been that children can do, little children, grade 2 are still pretty little, they've just come from grade 1, they have been in school for 6 months, is that they probably can do a couple of pieces, and then you may need to come back the next day and do the writing, for instance, or you might give them the writing to do the next day as just for that video piece. So these are different ways, and there are some kind of guidelines, and you have to be specific with them as to which part of the recorded lesson they're going to use, that they're not going to watch. They don't have to watch the whole thing. And we do need to touch base with our children after they've done a recorded lesson. So let's say I'd done reading the story and word study. I had assigned them to do the writing by themselves. When I met with them the next time, I would start off by looking at their writing. So you've got to be monitoring that accountability. Otherwise, they won't do it. Okay? So be thinking about how you spread the wealth, basically. And we've got to be looking at how can we monitor what they need to do next. And I think we must be looking at list, for example, it tells you about if, let's say, you've had assigned the you've done the introduction and they're going to read the book, then have them read a few pages when they come back the next day. So here's Michelle talking about the videos, and you will see when there is a video, there's a video icon. Now, I noticed that some of the higher level grades had an icon, but when I clicked on it, there was no video, so it hasn't been uploaded. It's coming. Every day you're going to go back and you're going to find more treasures.
Now, one thing you might notice is a little video camera above some of the books. This indicates that there's actually a videotaped lesson to go with the book. So let's look at a friend for Jasper. If you see over here, this little icon, you click on it, and you're going to see that there's a book introduction, there's a word study lesson, and there's a guided writing lesson to accompany this book. So you could have the students listen to the book introduction before they read the book. So here it is, and they can make it full screen by clicking right here on this icon, and there you'll see Karen.
Hi there. Today we're going to be reading a new book, and our new book is called A Friend for Jasper. Take a few minutes to find this book and also see if you can find some sticky notes.
I'm just going to voice over here and say, this is one from the summer where she doesn't have the digital reader. You would have the digital reader up, and patently your children can't stick sticky notes on the digital reader. So just tell them to get a piece of paper that they can write on, and they would simply write the page number, some way to get back to that information. Okay.
Notes, or some sticky flags, or even just a piece of paper to mark some pages in your book.
Oh, sorry.
So once they listen to the book introduction, they're ready to read the book with instructions from the teacher. We are adding videotapes lessons every day. We have many teachers around the country that are working on making us lessons. After they read the book, then they could do a word study lesson.
Hi there, welcome back. So for this part of the lesson, we're going to do some word study activities or games, and you either need to find some alphabet letters, or you could even write them on little pieces of paper and cut them out, or maybe you have a game around that has.
And then there's a guided writing lesson to accompany it.
Hi there, welcome back. So now we're going to write about our book, A Friend for Jasper. Remember when we read this story, we marked the pages where there was a problem.
So keep looking back. We're adding videotape lessons as we go along. These videotape lessons also accompany the books in the Read at Home collection if you have students that don't have access to read the books digitally.
So do you have, Kim or Ashley, do you have many, will all your children have access online?
Yes, every child's going to have a device.
But do they have a connection? See, you can have a device, but one of the issues that we're meeting in this district where I live, which is, you know, well-to-do district, we live in the country, and we've got a number of areas that do not have, cannot support the broadband, and it's so there may be some who can't get it. Do you think most of your people have? Are you in a rural area or are you in town?
If they don't have internet, we're providing MiFis, which are like hotspots. So every child should have a device and internet access.
Excellent, because that's been a huge issue.
Yes.
And so they just commenting there that if we have any, not perfect, but that could be a way that they could use the thing. I was interested, I was talking with my sister the other day in New Zealand, and admittedly we have a national education system, so I don't know whether school districts did different videos. They used a public television channel to put their lessons up on. So, because everyone gets TV. And I thought, now that's kind of interesting, because I know it's made it very inequitable in lots of places. Okay, but it sounds like you've got it sussed out there. You're going to be okay. Okay.
We're working on it at least.
I know, it's a work in progress. So you can see that these 3 videos actually came from the Summer Read at Home. And I know that as we're making them, they will be putting up, it's just to give people an idea. Your children, for instance, when you do your word study, you're not going to say to them, get your magnet letters out. You're just going to say, get your ABC letters, because that's what you sent home. That's what you know that they've got. So it does streamline some of the talk that we found had to go on when we were working in the summer. This is an earlier level, but again, it gives you just an idea of what you could expect to find. We've got the videos there. Okay, where is it? What's it doing? Okay. You've seen all that, how to make it bigger, etc. I think this is one of her working here. This is much earlier, but you may have some grade 2 children who are still, early.
Today's book is called Bella and Rosie Love Spring. In this story, they see lots of signs that spring has arrived. Let's open up the book and we'll see what signs of spring they see.
Oh, sorry, I keep obviously clicking on it by mistake.
And here are Bella and Rosie. Now I'm going to give you a little trick. Sometimes people get confused which one is Bella and which one is Rosie. But you see Rosie's pink collar right here. And in some pictures you can see Bella with her purple collar. So that's one way you can tell them apart. But of course the other way is to check the first letter. Is that Bella or Rosie? It's Bella, isn't it? So Bella says, spring is here. Say that with me. Spring is here. What letter does spring start with? S, doesn't it? There's that word spring. Rosie likes. Today's book is called Bella and Rosie Love Spring.
Okay, so now we're moving into the word.
Now we're going to do a word study activity.
And this is much higher.
And you need your letter tray.
And you would have your ABCs.
If you don't have your letter tray, pause the video and get it and then come back. Okay, for this word study activity, you're going to need your letter tray, and I'm going to write a word on the screen. And I want you to take the letters off your tray to make this word. I'm not going to say it, all right? Go ahead and take the letters off your tray and make this word. Okay. Did you make this word? Right. Now I want you to break it into these parts. So break it into 3 parts. Take off the ending. And take the first part or chunk of the word off. Check 3 parts. Check the screen. Does it look like that? All right, let's read these parts. Conviction. All right, now put those parts together and read the word conviction. Right, now we're going to make a new word. It's going to have the same ending. All right, and now you're going to make this word. Take the letters off your tray.
Okay, notice, those of you, just a reminder, this is making words. You do not say the word, so they don't have any listening memory of what that word sounds like, so that they're having to work it out. The other thing that occurs to me as I watch this, you're probably going to need to send 2 or 3 sheets of ABCs at home, because conviction has 2 C's, 2 O's, 2 N's and 2 I's. So you're going to need, so that they've got, when there's multiple letters. So just be mindful, some of those organizational things. Oops, sorry.
Now we're going to do a word letters off your tray and make this word.
I'm going to pull it along to the next one.
Off your tray to make this word. I want you to break that word into 3 parts. Take off the ending. And did you get these 3 parts? Promotion. All right, and then read the word promotion. We notice it has that same T-I-O-N ending that says shun. All right, now this third word you're not going to make. I'm just going to put it on the screen, and I want for you to read the word. Okay, think about the parts. Well, that T-I-O-N says shun. All right, and let's read that word. Revolution. Revolution. All right, so readers, as you're coming across these larger words when you're reading, look for parts you know, like this part, the T-I-O-N, and that'll help you if you break that off and read the rest of the word, you'll be able to read these big words. Let's do this now. Let's read down this list. Read with me. Conviction, promotion, revolution.
Okay, so now, and I seem to have
Hi,
lost...
writers. Now we're going to do our writing about our book we read, The Magnificent Manatees. And while we were reading, we were looking for important facts or surprising details or information about manatees, and we wrote questions. And today, for our prompt, we're going to be writing 5 questions and answers about manatees that could be answered in the book. And for our plan, we're going to use the index. So we're going to turn to the index and we're going to select 5 words from the index. And we're going to write those 5 words at the top of our paper. And then we're going to use those words in questions about manatees and then answer those questions. So turn to your index, right? And in the index, which is the bottom part of this page, you can see a word like temperature, right? So maybe I would write the word temperature at the top of my paper. And then I would write a question using that word temperature. What type of water temperature do manatees prefer to live in? Or what type of water temperature do manatees migrate to? And then you answer the question. Manatees like to live in warm water, right? So you can choose any 5 words, and from the information that you read, you're going to write a question and then answer your question. You can look back in the digital reader for the answer if you don't remember. All right. And one thing I want you to remember today while you're doing your writing is when you write that question, remember the question mark. That is the punctuation you're going to use at the end of that sentence. And then when you write the answer, you're going to use a period because you're answering with a statement. Okay? All right. Go ahead and use the index and write some important, interesting questions about manatees. And then answer them in complete sentences.
Oh, sorry. So a couple of questions that spring to mind for the writing. What are you sending home for the children to write in? What are they going to write in? Are they going to have a Literacy Footprints writing book? Or one thing I saw the other day, and I don't know whether you can do this, I don't even know it's in North Carolina, but I was interested that the composition books, the black composition books, although your kids are getting quite big and they're writing more, they might be fine with a composition book, but they're going to need something to write in. And I have to say to you that I always have felt that you need to have them in a book so that they can look back at what they've already written, what they've done. If it's on scraps of paper, it's gone, okay? What I did see, Kim, which I thought was interesting, is that I think it was Walmart, they have half-size composition books, which would actually work fine for K1.
Yes, I know a lot of people talk about taking them somewhere and having
Well,
them
apparently
cut in
they've
half.
and I
already
think
done
they
that for
said they
us.
were 50 cents.
Nice.
And I think the composition books are often $1, like at this time of the year. But I just thought we need to think about, because we'll need to send something home for them to write, and otherwise you're going to have stuff everywhere. You know, the more
Drop
we can
something in
help.
the chat, teachers. What are you planning to use for writing? Just curious, because we are here to learn from each other.
Well, what do you normally use for your writers, for your literacy footprints? Do you use the literacy footprints books, or did you use those the first year? They're combustibles, and of course, you know, you got to buy them again. What do you normally use?
Says composition notebooks, the notebooks cut in half.
Yeah. So they're having something. So we need to think about, because that's going to have to go home in the bag of stuff. So put that on the list that they're going to need something that they can. And I did see those of you who are cutting them in half that they're selling half-sized ones, and they were 50 cents, which I guess is like half the price of the full one, which is fair enough. But I just thought that was kind of interesting, and it's something we need to think about. What Karen did here was she has typed on either a PowerPoint slide, and if you watched the video the other day, you saw that there was a lot of anxiety saying, how am I going to have time to do that? You can just write it on a whiteboard, or you can type it on a Word document and just put it up. Because it is helpful if they have the prompt where they can see it, particularly for something like this. And once you've done it, you can save it and you can use it as you go through other ones. Some people find it's easier to do it on the PowerPoint. It's easier to think. Can you share? You must be able to share, because you're going to share your screens in Google Meet. You're going to share your Google thing. So if you can share your Jamboard, if you can share your PowerPoint for the prompt, something like that, that can be helpful so that they've got that as a reference to go back to. Okay, so we're looking at recorded lessons. We talked about the accountability. How do you touch base with children after you've assigned a lesson? Because some of them will be like Amy, we were talking about, we're there with them, we put them in a breakout room, we can hear them. But the reality may be, and it may be, and I don't want to make this assumption, but it may be with some of our more competent children that we don't meet with them as often, and they're really pretty good at doing the digital lessons and then coming back and talking with you. And they may have made their notes on a piece of paper, and then you come back and do the discussion like you saw the boys doing with Jan. How do we keep track of them? You know that you have, and you may already be using this, but on the Literacy Footprints downloadables by grade level, you can print off the back side of what was Jan's original plan in her yellow book, where you've got anecdotal notes, it's what it's called, and you can put your children's names, there's a place for names, and then there's a place for you to make notes and circle what they were doing strategically or what you worked on. I use one piece of paper for the whole 3 lessons. If you're up in JK up there, you're into 3 days, okay? So I write on the same piece, so I only have one piece of paper for each group, so I don't have too many pieces of paper to try and look after. I use a different color pen each day, so I can tell what happened on what day. But you are going to have to make sure that you keep some track of actually what you do. And so here's the reading. I don't know why this one's like this. Here we go. Why is it doing this? Move this over here. Meet with live with students after their video lessons. We've talked about that. have them reread the book or part of the book. So it just might be a couple of pages before you start your new lesson. It may be that they've read it and you are doing the discussion. And that can be quite fruitful if they've done they listen to the introduction, they read it, and then when they come to meet with you, they're ready to discuss. Again, you will have to teach them how to take notes about still the comprehension strategy at the top of the lesson record. So you need to introduce that right on day one about what it is we're focusing on. You might do a shared retelling. That works really well when you've got 4 or 5 children on there. And then to take notes in their journal, or they might have written on a sticky note at home or a piece of paper at home. But I think we have to help them anchor this, that it's not just a one-off, unconnected lesson to anything else. Word study, the same sort of thing. You've got to make sure that, for instance, children are understanding that if it was this one here, that these digraphs go on one, that they're one sound, as differentiated from a blend, which can be pulled into 2 sounds. We can use all these things to break words. You may find, I've already said this to you, you may find that you need to do sound boxes or do analogy charts more than one day so that you reteach it the next day so they get into the routine of doing it. I'm told and Amy, you might be the one here, that that you can use Jamboard as a whiteboard, and that gives you the opportunity to do this sort of thing, write on it, paste things, put things on it. I don't know Jamboard, so I don't know, but I do know that I have a number of teachers who investigated in the spring. They investigated all sorts of different whiteboards and things that they could download as an app and things. So there are lots of things out there that allow you. I don't know what Karen was using, that her magnet letters, she uses Zoom. And I haven't seen the ability to have the magnetic letters fly onto the whiteboard like she did, which I liked. So I need to go back and find out. Okay, so we're going to have to play around with some of these things. And then when we get to the writing video, one of the things, couple of things, I think I said to you before, that the child either tilts their Chromebook or tilts the video down so you can see them writing. And if you still can't see them writing, you'll have to have them hold their book up so you can see what they're writing. Otherwise, you can't kind of monitor and teach and help them. Just as you do at the table when you're doing guided reading, you're looking for a teaching point. And of course, writing-wise, it may well be a teaching point individually there, like it is when we listen to children read individually at our guided reading table, or you come back afterwards with a teaching point for the whole group. They need to keep writing the whole time. They don't stop before the time is up. Write more detail, add another sentence, reread it, see that it makes sense, those sorts of things. And that feed forward for when they're not with you, you're still going to be thinking about your periods, you're still going to be thinking about your capital letters, or you're still going to be thinking about question marks because you're asking a question. Please make sure you ask me if you have any questions here, because these are all things that we're going to have to play with, and depending how much we've already done will depend how much help we need to do it. So you would be looking at one child's dashboard, okay? And this is what you would see. The books that would be in their bookshelf, the books that you are going to assign for guided reading, and then books that once they've read them, they've gone from the assigned book into the book bag. When they've read them 3 times and they've checked at the end of the book 3 times, it automatically goes over into their familiar text. So they should all be able to access this one and this one when they're just at home, so that everybody should have books that they can read. Okay? Basically, we've kind of talked about this a little bit. When are you going to have them doing live? This is meaning at school and at home, but you've got the live lessons when you're going to be physically teaching them, or when are you going to be assigning? So we have that synchronous and the asynchronous. How are we going to be melding those? One of the things to think about what you're assigning, think about the strengths of the children. Now, I have to tell you, generally speaking, a lot of our kids are really weak at writing about reading. So it may be we assign the book introduction, depending on the competence of the group of the children, you may have them read it and come back and discuss, or you may just have them do the introduction and then they come together with you to actually read the book, so you can prompt, do what Amy's going to do, put them into the, but if they do the introduction themselves, it saves you a few minutes if they're capable of kind of following that themselves. So it may be that the writing is where you are spending for a little while the amount of your lifetime together, because they're not taking that on so well. One thing that has come up very much in the spring when we were all online, kids were kind of gung-ho for about a month, and then, now I just had a flick in my power, electricity here, which means there could be a storm coming, and if I lose power, my internet is not supported. So if I disappear, it's because there's a storm, okay? But nothing's happening at the moment. We've got a generator, but it doesn't run the internet. Well, I don't have Wi-Fi. I'm warning you, it just flickered. Okay, so we're going to have to we have to be careful and thoughtful about how you're not going to have them sitting like I've had you for 3 hours, basically. Okay, you've got to let them go, come back, hands-on, talk to each other, etc. Otherwise, we're going to lose them. However, I have to tell you that many of our children are very digitally savvy. They know the formation of the lessons, and they can actually almost teach themselves the lessons. So you're going to have a big range. This can be hard for children. A lot of our kids are not used to the computer being their mode of delivery of education, and they think that computers are where they play games. You know, there was a research project done in England, not that long, a couple of years perhaps, about the difference between comprehension on reading online and reading in a hard copy. And it's much worse reading online. And when they delved into the possible causes, kids think that you just scan on the computer. You don't read carefully and deeply. And so it's a state of mind that that's what they're being used to doing. And they have to slow down and they have to look for keywords. They have to do all that sort of thing. That's not always what they're thinking. So be really explicit about what they need to do. And then how are we going to follow up with these children? So here are some suggestions for ways that we can do this. I'm just looking on my phone to see what I can hear thunder. If I should lose him, I would say go back into your digital reader and look through everything, go into the videos on literacy footprints, go into the downloadables and look for that. I'm hoping I'm not going to lose you, but I just want to have a contingent. Always like to have a plan, don't we? Yeah. So here you can have different ways that you can, we've talked about that, you could assign. Look at where your children need more support, okay? What do you do with kids who miss lessons? Now, I would say to you, and can you record on Google Meet? You can. So I would say if you have a kid who's missing from a group, record the lesson. Now, Kim, we talked about this morning. Do you have permission from parents? Because then, you know, if you have a group that you've recorded and then you send it to someone's home for that kid to watch,
I think we're okay because we're using it within the confines of a Google Classroom.
Okay, that would be right. You would be. Just want to check that because nothing would be worse than to do that and then discover you're being sued because someone's kid's popping up somewhere. But I want us to be proactive in thinking about not creating more work for us. So when someone is missing, I would video the lesson. And you know what? That you could use that lesson digitally for another group at some time. So it's actually going to be kind of helpful. So just think about what do we do when someone's away. So when you go to, and I'm going to give you time to go away and do this now, when you go to the student, you click on and you've got the students in your list, the mask tells you the student view. So you click on that, and that's what you would see on Liz's dashboard. You would see her bookshelf. You would see what books had been assigned to her, if she's clicked any favorites, and then what's gone over from the assigned reader for 3 reads here before going off over here. Also here we have like a student setting where if you need to change the group or you need to change anything for that child, the level, change what levels their bookshelf is, those sort of things, you can do that. And this would be her bookshelf. These are her familiar texts. So you could have, I say, put a couple of levels in there, and they should be the couple of levels below where you have them instructionally. Now, for many of your children, they will have already read those books as the year gets going because they came through the cycle of the new book into the book bag and then into the bookshelf. But at the beginning of the year, they may well be books they haven't seen because there'll be different books than they had in kindergarten, different A, B, C, Ds. But that's okay. They can read, they should be able to read them. I actually like doing that because if children think they can only read books that we have read with them, oh, I can't read that yet. My teacher hasn't read it with me. This is an easy book. You know lots of things about this book. You know about this character. You know about Clarence, all the things he does. You know lots of words, snap words in there that you know. You know lots of how words start. You can get it started. You can look at the picture and think what would make sense. Check back that it's going to look right. So I encourage them to have time to do that. And that could just be something you assign. And you can check, you can see how many times that they've read them. And this is what they would click at the end, okay? When it's in their book bag, you click on this and then you can click a favorite. Some of them click every book's a favorite, which is lovely, that's fine. And so that then you can look and you can see how many times the child has read it. It allows you to look at the top of the page. So this is what you can see that this how many times this child's read it, that this book has a video, that it's in their book bag, and it was a favorite. So it tells you a lot of things at a glance. And the accountability for are they rereading in their book bag and on their bookshelf, and they can mark their favorites. Now, this is not quite accurate for your district. I'm told at the end of grade 1, your I. This is just an example. I is fine at the end of grade 1. And so and this one here needs to be linked. I'm very glad to see this one is linked because it's no good saying they're JK in the spring and they should be L in the fall. All you're going to do is give you lots of children who look like they can't read at the level required. So this needs to overlap here. So you will have your own one that you can look at through there. Then you have the Resource Centre, which gives you all sorts of things, and the support, which is the how-to videos, etc., etc. So I'm going to give you probably 8 minutes right now. It's 2:20, and I want you to go back into your into your digital reader, and I want you to dig into all those parts. Look at the assessment books. Look at the classroom settings, look at the resource, just look through everything so you know you can get into it, okay? And I will just wait here. I won't put you in breakout rooms because you're kind of working independently anyway. Okay, so I'll bring you back about 2:28, 2:30.
Okay, there is a question while you're transitioning to that. One of the, Amy again said that she gave her children due dates for reading
Yes.
their books.
You have to do that or it won't assign.
And she was wondering how long you should give them that. Should you assign books weekly?
I wouldn't put them up there until, because once you assign them, I think they can see them on their own digital reader. So I don't put them up there too far ahead because I want them to be their guided reading book. Obviously, if you're having them listen to the introduction and read it on their own, you would assign it, you'd put it up there. You know, I wouldn't give it to them for the whole week necessarily because there's 3 pieces to do. You may have some front runners who could do all 3 pieces in one day and be very happy about it, but you don't want them to just skim through it. You want them to dig into the writing, to plan for the reading. So when they're reading, they're planning for their writing. So I wouldn't put them up there too far ahead, quite honestly. Okay, does that answer, Amy?
Once it's read, then it goes into the book bag, correct?
Yeah, and then they can access it and they can check it every time that they read it, and then it automatically goes over to the bookshelf. Okay, yeah, yep. Is that okay, Amy? I can kind of see you there.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to give you time to go into your digital reader. I want you to look at all of these fields that we've looked at now and make sure you can get into them, and that everything, you can look at the resource center, you can look at the support. If you've already looked at all of that, then go into your literacy footprints, look down the downloadables, look at your grade level and see what you can pull off there.
One of the things that I'm noticing as I'm playing around with it, I went to students on the side, and there's a way to import students from a spreadsheet. It said it can be an Excel sheet or CVS. We are working on trying to get your students rostered for you, but there are some other ways that you can work on that as well. So that's just an FYI for you.
So Kim, do you think we should hold off a little while, excuse me, and not put our students in yet and see if the county uploads them for us?
That is up to you. Christy, could you speak to that maybe?
We just reached out to Patty today about syncing your students, and she's going to hopefully have the tech department speak with Pioneer Valley's tech department on Monday. So I would at least possibly suggest that you wait until we know something Monday, and Kim or I can reach back out to you after Monday if you could hold off. And so that would be my suggestion, is let's wait until Monday and the two tech departments communicate, and then we'll go from there.
You might not waste your time that way, because I doubt if you're going to really start doing this immediately on Monday, but we're working as hard as we can to make it as user friendly as we can.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
And you are going to have to do some quick and dirty assessment probably to work out where to put people in. So you might not be able to put them straight up on the digital reader on Monday, Tuesday, you know what I'm saying? So this trying to sync what we're all doing so that we've got what we need. But it sounds like Kim, you and actually have worked in Pioneer Valley, have worked so hard to see, get all this up and going. It's you know what? When we get going, it's going to be great. It is what it is. And we all may as well make the best of it and enjoy it. And I know from using this from early on right through with my kindergarten children, they love it. My rat baggy naughty little nephew who's 5 in kindergarten, who, as I've said to you, he's like an overwound clockwork mouse. He can't have magnetic letters. Magnetic letters are all over the room. So I have the magnetic letters now but actually he is reading really, really well. And you just have to look at, observe and say, what is he doing what? It's like me saying the strengths and needs. I have to work out a different way. Now, as he's getting a little more competent, he's realizing that the letters actually help him. So he's stopping being silly with them and using them. But you're going to find that 2nd and 3rd grade, hopefully they kind of got over that. But the K1, truly, honestly, tear your hair out. Feel sorry for those people. Feel sorry for the kindergarten teachers. Okay, so there were some good questions there. Some on the chat about the books and what people do. And so what I'm going to, we're just going to finish off the PowerPoint, and then we're just going to look at some videos. So let me just find, where are we up to? Here we are. So that's what we were looking at. Who can tell me, was there anything in particular in the resources or the support that anyone found? Did you see in the support piece there's some how-to videos to how to help you make your own videos? Or what is helpful if you are recording and you've got a child who's absent? Okay, so the resource center's got all the different parts. There is a student tracker you have access to. You may already be tracking your students in your own district database, and that's not so helpful. It may be helpful when we move on to more of the progress monitoring, because it's a good place to put it and you get nice graphs and things. So the last couple of slides before we look at some videos is stay flexible. Don't tear your hair out. This is not going to be your nice, organized classroom. You know, K3 teachers are normally, we're very tickety-boo. We know boom, boom, boom. Don't get frustrated. Just take a breath and celebrate what went well that day. You know, there's been many, many times I finished a lesson and it's like, well, that went well. I tell you, I broke my wrist. I told you I broke my wrist. And would you think there's any good sides to breaking your wrist? No, there's not really. There's two. One, it's my left hand and I'm very right-handed. Two, I didn't need surgery. You know, I'm in this cast for 3 months and then they tell me to be a year before it comes right. Super duper, just what we needed on top of everything else. Just celebrate the small successes. You have to be persistent. Don't go too fast through teaching the resources and teaching the routines. You set, just like in your classroom, you set that up well in September and you're golden for the rest of the year. If you don't set it up, if you skim over it, you'll have kids who are not doing what you asked. You'll get cross, they get frustrated. Just take a little time, walk through it, practice it several times. Be very explicit. And I said to you at the beginning, when you're teaching online, you have to kind of hoop it up. Now, I don't mean to say it has to be a dog and pony show, but you kind of got to keep it going because you haven't got that energy that you have when you are together. You have to be persistent. And as Pioneer Valley keeps saying, we're all in this together and we've got little Rusty the robot and we can do this. Now, I'm hoping as time goes by and things settle down, we may do some more work together. Who knows? I'm not promising that. We're not promising that. But I do know that there's lots of other pieces from today that we didn't even touch on because we want to just get you going with the digital reader, and lots of great questions have come up. Okay, so I'll just get rid of this and then now when I look back, here, let me just get rid of this. I couldn't see any videos on grade 2, but I can see them on grade 1. So I've chosen one that's at the top end of grade 1, which will be the closest to grade 2. So we can see what we can do. So this one here is at the top end. It's a K in grade 1, and it has a video. Let's hope there's a video there when I click on it. Yes. So let's have a look through, and this will just give us a bit of extra help in terms of seeing how to do it.
Hello, readers. Our book today is called Keeping Watch. This is a story about Bella and Rosie, and it's written by me, Michelle Dufresne. Let's take a look at the book. We have some chapters in this book. So we have Protecting the House, the Delivery Truck, and Lions and Tigers and Bears. So in this story, Bella thinks it is her job to protect the family from intruders. Intruders are unwanted people that might intrude in your house. Let's look at that word, intruders. Intruders. Say that word with me. Intruders. So she thinks she has this important job. Let's clap important. Important. Here it is. Important. So she's doing her job of protecting everyone from intruders that she might see, even chick bugs. Now, what do you think she thinks about a delivery truck? Yeah, that would be an intruder, wouldn't it? Now, usually, no one would let Bella out if a car or a truck was coming, but somehow she got out this day. And there's that word, usually.
And of course, the delivery truck brought something. It's a box, isn't it? Well, she looks at it suspiciously. When you're suspicious of something, you're really not sure and you think it might be something wrong. So let's look at that word suspiciously. Suspiciously. She was suspicious of that box. Because remember, it's her job to protect the family. Now, in the last chapter, they're watching for intruders when they hear some rustling of leaves. So they're going to go out. And Bella tells Rosie, maybe it's a lion or even a tiger. And of course, that makes Rosie really afraid and she begins to shiver. But Bella thought for a moment and then she says, well, maybe it's a bear. Well, Rosie's worried about a bear too. But Bella says, I'll protect you. Now, I think you can see in the picture that it was not a lion or a tiger or even bears. It was 5 little dogs that live in the neighborhood that came to visit. So before you start reading, in your writing notebook or on a piece of paper, make a T-chart like this and put fearless on one side and helpful on the other. These are 2 possible character traits for you to think about that we think not Rosie. Before you start reading, make a T-chart in your writing journal or on a piece of paper. On one side, put fearless, and on the other side, put helpful. As you're reading, you're going to think about Bella and whether she is fearless or helpful. As you read, look for some keywords that you could put that show that she is fearless and some keywords that show that she is helpful. Now, I think you know what fearless means. It's without fear or brave. And of course, helpful is when you're really trying to help out. So look for things that she does or says that show she is one or the other or both. Okay, go ahead and start reading. And when you're done, come on back. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the story. Let's think about whether Bella is fearless or helpful. I found some examples that I think show she's both. And here are some of my keywords. She wasn't afraid of that delivery truck. She was willing to run out and see that strange delivery man and bark at him. So I think that's an example of being fearless. And she was also willing to go out in the yard, into the woods, when she thought there were some strange animals. And I thought some examples of her being helpful was that she was watching out for intruders, something we often want a dog to do, and that she wanted to protect Rosie when Rosie was afraid. So those were some of the examples that I came up with to show both fearless and helpful. What do you think she is? Do you think she's a fearless dog or a helpful dog? When we come back to write, you'll be thinking about which one you think she is. All right, the last thing we're going to do is look at this word suspiciously, that very big word that was in our book today. Bella was very suspicious of intruders. Let's look at how we might break that word apart. Now, one of the reasons this word is very long is it actually has 2 endings that we can take off. It has that ly ending and that ous ending that we see on words. Without the ly, it would just be suspicious. And then we add the ly and it becomes suspiciously. Now, you might have to break it down even more when you're trying to figure out what a word like that is. So you might break it into parts like that. The thing is, I think you'll find if you give it a try and you get some of the parts and then you reread and think what would make sense, you often can figure out some of these bigger, more challenging words. Thanks for reading with me.
Okay, so I'm just going to go back in there because I want to just show you on the share. Let me just go back. I'll just slide back on this one. Where is it? Sorry. I'm actually, oh. Sorry, here we go. Now, can you see me with this one? Let me share this. Sorry, I've got lightning and thunder and I thought, oh, it's gone, but then it suddenly popped back up again. So if we look over on, are you seeing me, Kim?
We can see the book. Keep watching.
Okay, okay. I just wasn't sure whether I'd lost you. I felt like I lost you for a moment, but then it came back. So if we go back to the left-hand side, this is where the videos are, but there is the lesson plan. And if we, can you see this?
Yes.
Or is it just, you
on
can?
your end. Yes.
Okay, so that is the lesson plan. And remember that all of the introduction that you heard Michelle give is on here for you. Okay, it tells you, just like it does on your normal ones, because we do have to give a kind of rich introduction to give some context to these books with the children not being right there. So the lesson plan, and again, this is the number, so it tells you where it is in the sequence. It tells you what you need to do, what will be the day 1, and then over here for day 2, and then day 3, okay? Something else I was going to tell you. Sorry, things are going a bit crazy at this end, so I'm thinking we're on borrowed time. Okay, so that is just an example here. Oh, I've got the guide. I'd like you to see the word study because I think that you can see how much more complex it is up at this level. Sorry, didn't look like it was shared. Is it shared? Did I share that?
Not yet.
I tried to and it didn't share. Okay, now you should be able to see the screen here. Okay, we'll go again. This is the word study.
On your piece of paper, make a T-chart. And at the top of it, put sit and sitting. Now, when you have a small word like sit that has a consonant, vowel, consonant, notice how you double the T, you double the consonant when you add ing. So all the words we're going to do today are consonant, vowel, consonant words. We call those CVC words. When you write the ending on it, and some of the endings will be ed, ing, or er, you're always going to double that consonant. So let's do the first one. The word is win. Go ahead and write win under sit. Now, you're going to change win to winning. So write that under sitting. Think about what you have to do to your consonant. Did you double your N? Good. All right, your next word is hop. Right, hop. Okay, you have hop. Now you're going to change it to hopped. Yes, you need to double that P to add your ED. Now notice in hopped, it sounds like a T at the end. That's not what it is it? It's that ED ending. All right, the next word is spit. spit. Write that under hop. So you have spit. Think about what you have to do to change it to spitting. Does it look like that? Good. All right, last word is run. Now think about how to change it to runner. Did you make sure that had ER? And did you double that consonant? All right, let's just quickly read all our words. We have sit, win, hop, spit, and run. And we have sitting, winning, hopped, spitting, and runner. Nice work today.
Okay, so the last one I'm going to show you is the writing. Just a couple of things. Okay, how do I get back to that? Sorry, I'm just not seeing. I wonder if I have to go backwards. One of the things I think about the analogies there is children often think they can't write words they don't know, but in actual fact, what then happens is that they find they can write lots and lots of words that they didn't think that they could write. So that's kind of interesting. I'm seeing how do I get this going? Oops, what happens if I go there?
For word study today, we're going to be using analogy charts.
How do I go? Perhaps I go like that. There we go. So let's look at the writing, because I think it's interesting to see how you then build on what you planned. See how she did the planning in the beginning, in the writing, in the reading, so that when you go into writing, if you're not planning during your reading, your writing is going to take too long. And it's like they're starting all over again. So I do lots of planning and part of my discussion.
Hello, writers. So today you're going to be writing about keeping watch. You're going to be writing an opinion piece. And what you're going to be deciding is whether Bella is fearless or helpful. So you need to pick one. And you're going to start by writing, I think Bella is either fearless or helpful. And then what you need to do is give examples of why you think she is fearless or why you think she is helpful. Think about the things that happened in the story and give evidence for why you picked fearless or helpful. You also might want to use some keywords that were in the story, such as watch, delivery, and animals. So go ahead at the top of your paper or your writing journal, write that word fearless or helpful, whichever one you're going to choose, and then I think Bella is. So now you have your plan. Go ahead and start writing. When you're done, reread and see if you think that people will agree with whether your belief that she's fearless or helpful. Make sure you give enough evidence for that. And don't forget that you should always check your writing by rereading and making sure you have spaces, you have capital letters where they're supposed to be, and lowercase letters where they're supposed to be, and make sure your sight words are spelled correctly that we've been learning. Go ahead and start writing.
Now, if you have been using the original digital reader, you will see that we gave a lot of help with writing, and we would come back and we would give them some examples of written scripts. What they found was happening, those clever little beasts would just scroll to the end of the video and just copy the story. So they weren't writing their own stories. But what strikes me about writing, and I think this is true whether we're in the classroom and even more whether we're digitally remote, is that we need to help them plan. Our children don't plan. And they just start writing. And if you don't know where you're going, you end up where you're headed. In grade 3, you have the comprehension cards. So you have lovely stems. I'm not sure that grade 2 has the comprehension cards. I think you might do, but you can print them off. Who's a grade 2 person? Any grade 2 there? Yeah, Tess, do you have comprehension cards? The box of comprehension cards in grade 2?
Yeah.
You're muted. You're muted.
Yes, we did.
You do, okay. So you will know that on the comprehension cards is very often a stem. And they're designed for your children to copy the stem, like I think Bella is. This is formulaic writing. This is not writer's workshop where you are creatively writing. And I think that kids get very confused as to whether they're allowed to copy or whether they have to make up their own stuff. So I think be very clear that you can use the stem and the starter. And then if you're doing an oral discussion with a starter, you will always get a complete sentence. If you are asking even a kindergartner, I want you to compare these animals. So they say, a lion is like a tiger because they're both cats. You'll get the whole thing. You won't just get a fragment. So use those stems as academic language. It's helping those children learn the structures. These are academic structures of how we write. So be helpful. They can formulate their ideas, but there's a structure within what to do there. What would you think? Someone share with me. What are you thinking? Unmute yourself. In grade 2 or 3, what do you think is the hardest in your classrooms when you've been doing it in your classrooms? Is there any particular component, whether it be the word study, the writing, or the reading the book, any one of those that seems to be more difficult than the others? Anyone can share. Just tell me, unmute yourself, tell me what grade level you are. So they're all the same. Reading, word study. Sorry, somebody's on. Thank you, Donna.
For previous years teaching it with my students, it was always the writing.
It is. It is. And you know what, Donna? I noticed particularly with K1, possibly 2, the only writing we've done with our children is Writer's Workshop. And I love Writer's Workshop, don't get me wrong. But writing about reading is a much more, it's assisted writing. Jan keeps saying, and we can be teaching our children all sorts of my dog.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Oh, that's my dog joining in now because he heard hers barking. Sit down, buddy. It's okay. Like the other day, I'm doing a word work lesson and the M drops on the floor. And I say, because I've got a broken hand, so I can't get it. And I'm saying, oh, I dropped the M on the floor. And then I look down and the dog has got it in his mouth. So I say, oh, now the dog's eating it. And I said to Michelle, I didn't edit it out because isn't that the reality of what happens? I mean, the dog ate the homework. I mean, you know, we know that these sorts of things happen. So I have found, Donna, thank you for that contribution, is that sometimes the writing is hardest because we're not building the planning into our reading and the discussion of the reading. By the time we've finished our discussion, you saw how Michelle quickly did that T-chart on the whiteboard, and I think she does it on a Word document and you can just type on it. And so that she had modeled the sorts of things that they could be thinking about. Will some children copy? Yes, but you know, sometimes that's how you start. You start by mimicking someone and then you start to see things in the story and you think, oh, I could say that or I could say that. So I think that is the piece that is the trickiest. I would agree with you. I have to tell you though, I am seeing, and I work with lots and lots of teachers, K5 with literacy footprints. They are being blown away by how well their children are writing about reading, because they've learned the structures that help them formulate their answer. It's not like a winding country road. It's like very succinct. It's to the point. It's got evidence. You use that word. We know we have to do that. So we've got 3 minutes. Are there any last questions? The electricity has not gone off here. My husband was outside gathering in umbrellas and cushions, and it's very dark. So we've done well, cross fingers, to get this far, because it doesn't work without the when the generator's on. Any last questions? Anything? And Kim, Ashley, can you put my website up there? www. She's going to just put my website up there. You're welcome to send me an email. Just say I'm Tess from Currituck, grade 2, so that I can get you back in my mind. If you have questions, if they are technological questions, please go to customer support, because it's hard for me. I can't get in to help you. But if it's a content question or a management question or a good idea question, please feel free. You can just click on my email link on my website. She's going to put it up there. So www.michael, which is MICHAL Taylor, at Dr. Michael, no, sorry, Michael, what did I say? www.drmichaeltaylor.com. That's my website, okay? So I've loved working with you, Kim. I hope that down the track we can do some more work together. As I said, we've really had the luxury, and this is wonderful, Kim and Ashley, of focusing on the digital reader. Some of you are in there, you've got it, you're on your way. Others are thinking, oh my goodness, this is overwhelming. I always say about anything, how do you eat an elephant? One mouthful at a time. So don't let yourself get crunched in the corner because it's just like, this is too hard. Just get your students in, learn how to select a book. You've got lots of friends around who will help you. And you know what? I think we're going to find, we're so delighted to see our kids. They're going to be so delighted to see us. So if there's no more questions, Kim, any last requests?
I just put in the chat that there are lots of updates coming on Monday. As Christy said, when we asked that last question, there are technical issues that are going to be addressed on Monday, from Pioneer Valley's tech department to our tech department about a Google single sign-on. I don't know any more than that. I also know that Ashley and I are going to a meeting with Laurie from Pioneer Valley about updates to the digital platform. So please know that we're going to get everything we can to you as soon as we have the answers. Just get in there and play around with it some this weekend. Wait on rostering, and we will try to get you answers to all of your questions on Monday afternoon. Our appointment is at noon. But we're glad that everybody was here. We're very fortunate to have these resources.
Yeah, we are. So love you all. Take heart. Be strong. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.